YouTube? This is Steve from avgjoesff Fantasy Football, and we got your first start and sit video for the week 9. We're talking quarterbacks here. There are hopefully a lot of you that came out victorious out of week 8. There was a nice little fun game, the Lions Raiders. Obviously, there were some struggles at the beginning of that game. A lot of Devontae Adams player owners that just were very upset, and I get it. But hopefully you guys came out victorious. Now, there are 4 teams on the bye this week. You've got the Jaguars, 49ers, Lions, and Broncos. So take account for that. As far as quarterbacks go, Goff, Lawrence, Purdy, Russell Wilson, decent amount, right? Like that's enough quarterbacks to be missing that might have a factor in this week. And then, of course, the big news with Kirk Cousins missing the rest of the season. That was huge. And then you also got another injury in Matthew Stafford with his throwing hand. We'll see how that's going to play out. There was a lot going on this week. So quarterbacks, there's a lot, right? You've got to pay attention to that. So hopefully this video helps you guys with that lineup because, again, we're more than halfway through the fantasy season. Playoffs are going to be here before you know it. So make sure you guys take account for that because, again, we are almost there. Now, these are your obvious quarterbacks. This is it. Like, these quarterbacks I feel pretty confident with. Now, I don't have Justin Herbert on here. I don't know what to think about his matchup, right? He's going against the Jets. They're a pretty good defense, especially when they really do show up. And Herbert has not looked great this season. This new change, I thought, with having Kellen Moore was going to be a bigger difference maker for him. But he just doesn't seem to be right. And I'm not sure what's going on with the Chargers. Now, you're going to play him. I just don't want to quite put him as an obvious. Like, it's not obvious. Like, he hasn't looked obvious this season. But I understand if you're going to play him because, again, he's got probably a decent matchup compared to some other players I'm going to talk about here. And there's not a lot of great options. So, realistically, I just didn't put him in the obvious part. Now, the first quarterback I'm going to mention as a good start is going to be Dak Prescott going against the Eagles. This is a huge game for the Dallas Cowboys and a huge game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, both of these teams are going to be playing for that first spot in the NFC East. Dak has come off his best game this season so far. He had 4 passing touchdowns against the Rams. He looked really good. He was able to keep the defense looking certain ways. Then he threw it the opposite. He threw 2 touchdowns to CeeDee Lamb. That offense just looked really good against an okay defense, right? Like, the Rams are okay. They're not amazing, but okay. So I'm not looking too much into that, but they're playing against an Eagles defense that is just struggling. Like, I understand they added Byard, but that secondary has not played well. They're allowing 18.93 points a game. They're allowing 2 touchdowns per game as well. Like, this is a really tough matchup. And they just made Sam Howell look like he should be a starter every single week, right? Like, Sam Howell just put up 31 points. He was a league leading 31 points in fantasy this week. So right now, this is a really good matchup. Dak should be able to have that same success that he had in the Rams against the Eagles. But like anything else, anytime you're playing rival games, each team knows each other really well. So again, there's a chance he doesn't play as great, but like Howell just did against the Eagles, there's a chance Dak can have a solid performance. Another quarterback I like this week is going to be Derek Carr versus the Bears. Now, I mentioned Derek Carr plenty of times in my waiver wire video just because he's done pretty well the last 3 weeks. He's going against the Bears defense that is struggling, right? They're near the bottom of the league against the pass. They're allowing 19.13 points a game. And Derek's just coming off 3 straight games of over 300 passing yards. Now, do I think he needs to have 300 passing yards in this game against the Bears? Not quite. Like, this is not a Bears team that's scary and offensively, so they may not have to pass as much. The game script does change a little bit, but the Bears are allowing 270 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns per game as well. Like, this is a really good matchup. I'm expecting that 18 to 20 point performance out of Derek Carr. Great start this week. Now, the other quarterback I'm going to mention is Baker Mayfield. Again, another quarterback I have as a waiver wire video. He's going against the Texans. Now, this isn't a matchup where I'm expecting Baker to really go off. Like, great. The Texans are a pretty good defense. They're about middle of the pack. But Texans are allowing 16.6 points a game, 250 passing yards. And even though they're a better defense against the Bills, than what the Bills were that Baker played, I think Baker should have success, like similar success, right? In a 17, 18 point game. I do like this matchup. Now, the Texans have only allowed 5 passing touchdowns, so that's actually really good. So we'll see how that plays out for Baker. But I do think this game's going to be tight enough where I think Houston and the Bucs play well enough that both teams are fighting to the end, that Baker's going to have to pass. Like, the game script's going to match where he still has to pass in the 3rd and 4th quarter, which is what I'm hoping, and not a blowout, right? Now, the first quarterback I'm going to mention as a sit, Sam Howell. I know he just came off a huge game, 31 points. I'm not going to take anything away from that. He's going against the Patriots, though. Now, Patriots just gave up 22 points in the last 2 games, like averaging 22 points the last 2 games. But here's my hesitation with this matchup. If you look at this prior to that, right? Like prior to playing against Tua and Josh Allen, who just had those 2 big games, they're allowing only 12 points a game to the quarterback. Only 12 points. Like that's huge. Sam Howell has had up and down type of season, right? Like he's had some really good games and he's had some really bad games. This is where I feel that roller coaster is going to get him to that drop, right? Like he's going to drop. He's going against a Patriots team that defensively should do pretty well against him, right? That's where I have some hesitation. They're only allowing 217 yards in the air. Like this is a really worrisome week for Sam Howell. If you have to play him, I get it because of the injuries and bye weeks, but just lower that expectation a little bit, right? Maybe 14 points for him, maybe 15 points if you're lucky. Now, Jordan Love's another quarterback I'm sitting this week going against the Rams. Prior to the Dallas game, Rams have only allowed 4 touchdowns all season to the quarterback, like 4. Now, I get it. Dak just had 4, but this is not, Dak and Love are not the same type of quarterback. Top of that, realistically, the Rams are pretty good against quarterbacks. Now, against run type of quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, where they gave up, pretty good amount of points, they're actually only allowing 11.18 points a game. Like the Rams are pretty good, right? That's not something to like, you really have to look into that. They've only allowed about a touchdown a game, 208 yards a game. Like this is a really good matchup for the Rams. So I think they succeed and Love struggles because realistically, Love has struggled. Like he hasn't played the way he should have been. He's gotten Christian Watson back, which I thought was going to help him out, but it really hasn't. Aaron Jones, I think, is the biggest factor. Like because his health has been so concerning and he hasn't been himself, that is affecting Jordan Love. Everything's put on his shoulders. And right now, Jordan Love is still not quite ready. Even though it's been some time for him behind the scenes, learning from Aaron Rodgers, if he did learn anything, he just has not played up to that expectation. This is a matchup that I do think he does struggle. I get that the hype because of what Dak did against the Rams, it's not going to be the same thing. Now, another quarterback I'm sitting is Geno Smith versus the Ravens. Geno's really got a tough matchup. He's not played as well as he should have. He's not looked like himself from last season. And the Ravens are pretty good, right? They're only allowing 11.8 points a game, 209 yards in the air. Like Baltimore's did a really good job creating turnovers. They're not allowing a touchdown, like just less than a touchdown a game. So it's a really tough matchup for Geno. Is there a chance that Geno gets some points because of garbage time? Sure. This type of matchup is where I think Baltimore can get up pretty big, but I also don't think this is going to be the matchup for that. Like I think with this offense, I think this is going to be more of a game that one touchdown, all it takes is one team to get one touchdown in this game, they win. Like that's the type of game I feel this is going to play out. I feel this is going to be a very good defensive game between the Seahawks and the Ravens. I feel this is going to be a run heavy game between both teams. Walker, Charbonnet, Edwards, Hill, like that's the type of game. I think it's going to be a gritty, tough performance in Baltimore, and Geno's not going to perform very well to put him in the lineup. Now, my sleeper of the week is going to be Gardner Minshew versus the Panthers. Now, this is more of a gut feeling than it is more stats, right? Like Texans are pretty good against the quarterback. Panthers are pretty good against the quarterback. Panthers only allow 14 points a game. They've allowed 22 points before that, 27 points before that. So you're kind of up and down. I feel like Minshew is going to be in that 16 to 17 point range. Like this is the type of matchup where he's going to get you a touchdown. He might even get you a rushing touchdown. He's going to get you plenty of yards. He's got 2 good receivers that are pretty good tandem receivers, right? Michael Pittman and Josh Downs look really good, and I'm really excited for their future in that aspect. But I think Gardner Minshew has that moxie, that ability to keep this team going, play against the Panthers defense that has done pretty well against the pass. And I think he's going to get you that 17, 18 point. Again, this is more of a gut feeling, not a lot of stats behind it. I just feel like he can do that this week. So that's my start, sits, and sleepers for week 9. If you guys have any questions for your lineup, hit me up in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys are looking for as far as trades, waivers, who you need to start, sit. Let me know. I'm here to help you guys out. If you guys do have any of those questions, again, hit us in the comments. If you haven't already, check out our waiver wire video. We want to help you get the right players for this upcoming week. If you haven't already, check out any other type of waiver wire videos throughout the season. Follow us on our socials. We've got some big news on there. We put some big announcements. So again, make sure you guys are following us on X and on Instagram as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed, like the video, and I'll check you guys out next time.